Hey guys, what's up? Jordan Morell here making another daily video on circumcision. And in today's episode, I would like to do another episode of Intactivist of the Week, something I did a month ago. I reviewed Eric Clopper's play Sex and Circumcision and did him as Intactivist of the Week 2 weeks in a row, then skipped a few. And I'd actually like to do an Intactivist who I discovered at the same time. Her name is Tanya Mamatanswan on YouTube, and she actually did a review of Eric's play called The Human Rights Presentation that shook me. That was incredibly, it was beautiful, you know. It's the way that we should all react to a presentation like that, to that level of truth. She was in tears, you know. She was so moved, and she showed her vulnerability to everybody. She showed exactly the way that this human rights violation should upset us, especially a moving presentation like Clopper's. So Tanya is a mother of an intact son. She's a passionate intactivist. She lives in Michigan, and all by herself she goes out and does these one-woman protests outside her local hospital, which is kind of amazing. I've never done that. So I'm proud to, you know, have her among our ranks, because that takes some special courage, and she is definitely a very courageous person. She also is courageous in sort of the way, again, that she presents her own ideas. You know, she's really not afraid to say what she thinks, to be honest, to be very real, and to be, you know, very gentle, very straightforward, but also very inviting, which I think is so important and powerful. I'll link some videos of hers below so you can see some of my favorites. Another thing, one video I'll probably link is her poetry. She does some intactivist poetry occasionally that is pretty awesome, you know. She's actually got some poetic skill. I've seen some intactivist poetry before that I wasn't too impressed with. I'm not going to say who wrote that, but I really appreciate poetry, and I really appreciate someone who can write it well, and Tanya is definitely a skilled poet. Also dancer, by the way. Her first video was actually a dance one, and she's fantastic, gotta say. But more importantly, she also, you know, talks a lot about the foreskin, about why it's valuable. She talks about her own experience with it, which is so needed in intactivism. Women and men sharing their personal experiences of why foreskin is so fucking awesome. You know, she explains that one thing I really like that she explains that is that her partner actually enjoys it more, and that's one of the reasons that she really enjoys it more, because I think, you know, that's something that I also experience, and I don't know if I could enjoy sex very much with a woman who had been mutilated, who I know isn't getting that full experience. It's just so it's so sad to know that and to feel that and to not have that share in that joy. And also, I've sucked a guy's dick once on the back of my Uber, and you know, it wasn't very good. I blame that definitely on his circumcision status, which is circumcised. It's not as fun. It's pretty boring. So, fingers crossed, one day I'll suck an intact guy's dick. So thank you, Tanya, for sharing that, for sharing the fact that, you know, they're able to control their erections better, they're able to have more self-awareness, awareness when to pull out, awareness of how to control their erections, and all these other, you know, of course, sensitivity things, the fact that it's callous, all the ways that circumcision harms, because there's so many. You know, Tanya really understands the social side of it too. That's something that I really appreciate. You know, the fact that circumcision is a euphemism. She continuously is saying very straightforwardly, this is genital mutilation. This is molestation. This is a human rights violation. I could be a poet. You know, it's the same thing as female genital mutilation. Really, it really is. She does this experiment in one of her videos where she, you know, says, close your eyes and imagine someone cutting the prepuce off of a little girl. and kind of walks through that. And it's like, now, if it's a baby boy, why is that different? It's actually, got way more nerve endings in it. It's way more important for sex than a girl's prepuce. So why do we have this insane double standard? It's totally social, and Tanya understands that very well and presents it very well in multiple of her videos. She talks about her father's immigration and his suicide and her experience of that, and his circumcision, and how that might have affected that. She's very aware of all of the psychological side of circumcision and how that affects men, which is something, again, that's just so in need. It's not just a physical harm, although it's an incredible physical harm. It's also a huge psychological trauma of the highest degree, and it's so important that we keep on speaking up for that. She's talked a lot about how babies die from circumcision every year. She's talked about how it's circumcessed. It's essentially like sexualizing babies' penises when it's it's not sexual. It's not supposed to be sexual until they get older. Then they can decide for themselves if they want an aesthetic thing for their sexuality, or if they think it would feel better for some weird reason to have part of their dick cut off. There's no reason to do this to children, and that's very important. Another thing she talks about is the rape culture, and how it's like, if we say, basically ask for forgiveness rather than permission, isn't that exactly what rape culture is? It's doing something without consent. It's the exact same fucking thing. Like, how it drives you insane, and you can see that too. Like, I appreciate Tanya's exasperation around this issue, because, again, we should be absolutely exasperated about. One thing that I found really interesting Tanya talks about is sex addiction, because I hadn't really considered that before, and how it might have affected my my own personal need for sex. And I think that that's actually a very, very valid point. It just makes sense. If you alter your sexuality that much, it's going to very much change your drive towards it, your inability to be fulfilled by sex, and you get all sorts of strange obsessions and fetishes, which research backs up that you need more different kinds of sexual stimulation to try to feel satisfied when you are circumcised. It's just a simple fact. And Tanya's always encouraging people to research more, to look at the educational material that she's providing, to really understand all of the ways that this is harmful, because there's so many. And I appreciate that she's also, throwing out kind of this bait, these little things, and then saying, if you don't believe me, look it up for yourself, because that's what we really need people to be doing. Finally, one thing I really liked in one of her videos is Tanya talks about the reasons to date Intactivist, because we're pretty awesome. I would have to agree. She says, the 10 reasons are: we are compassionate, intelligent, woke to other topics as well, such as veganism, thumbs up, heads up, hands up. I'm a vegan too, made a video about that recently. I think it just makes sense. And so many other social issues too. If you have a mind to think about this, of course you're going to be woke about other things. Sexually conscious, assertive, dedicated, good communicators, interdisciplinary skills, communal, humble, and attractive. And most of all, I think I'd have to agree with that last one. I'm not sure about humble. Would not really categorize myself that way. But I am definitely very attractive, so thank you, Tanya. I agree. And finally, I would suggest again that you look at these videos I've posted below. These are some of my favorites, with a little description of each one. And And please also subscribe to Tanya's channel. She doesn't post every day, annoyingly, like I do, so you just see her good stuff. And in a few weeks, she said she may be interviewing one of the top Intactivists out there right now. Probably shouldn't say any more about that, but would definitely recommend subscribing to her channel just so you can be aware of that when it comes out. I'll probably mention it again too, but yeah, check her out, guys. Tanya is amazing. I'm looking forward to see what she continues to do as time goes on, and yeah, really excited to see also how I can continue, how all of us Intactivists can continue supporting each other. I'm meeting Eric and James Lowen this Wednesday, and talk with Brendan Murata a lot. Like, all of them give me so many good ideas, so much support, so many different ways of just helping me grow, helping me understand Intactivism better. And so yeah, thank you guys for being amazing. Thank you, Tanya, and I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace out.